What you see here are the members of the Committee on Agriculture and Rural Development of the European Parliament who have been voting on the reform of the Common Agricultural Policy. And I'm inside the chamber of the committee where its members started voting very early this morning on 4 bills which will completely change the face of the Common Agricultural Policy. The vote will continue tomorrow, and the reason for this is the 8,000 amendments tabled by the 44 members of the committee. This European Parliament vote is of paramount importance as the new EU treaty, known as the Lisbon Treaty, sets the elected institution of the Union as co-legislator along with the Council of Ministers on agriculture. The Common Agricultural Policy, the so-called CAP, accounts for more than a third of the European Union budget and historically was the first real common policy. Today, 60 years after its debut, a global reform of the CAP is required as our agricultural economy has changed and environmental issues are vested with broader importance, as points out Michel Dantin, who drafted the legislation on the common organization of the markets.
During the last decade, the world has deeply changed and the CAP and its tools need to be adapted.
I'm joined by Merit McGuinness, an EPP Group member from Ireland and an expert on agriculture. Which are the main changes that these 4 reports bring to the Common Agricultural Policy and why these changes are important today?
That's a really big question. There was an awful lot changed in committee. I suppose the key issues as far as we are concerned as an agriculture committee is that the focus of our supports we want to target to active farmers, to productive farmers, so farmers who actually produce food and public goods. That's a really key part. We are very, very positive on young farmers, on giving them support. It is quite hard to capture in a few sentences the compromises we have voted through, but when I look at the actual vote, there has been very strong support for those compromise amendments, which tells me that the political groups have found unity within their differences. Okay. We have extra power, but we have also extra responsibility. I always think you need to say both of those things. And I think it showed in the amount of amendments that colleagues tabled. We had thousands of amendments. Our job as the negotiators was to whittle that down to a coherent text that the Parliament could support.
The main issue at present is the lack of agreement among the member states of the Union on its future financing. This means that the figures for funding the CAP are not yet known.
I want to say very critically that we don't have figures for the CAP budget, and a lot of our work will be dependent on an adequate budget being available for the Common Agriculture Policy.
One of the reports deals with important changes on the structure of the common organization of the markets, attempting to improve the position of the farmers in the food supply chain of produce organization, as well as the quality of the products. Michel Dantin, EPP Group member from France, explains its importance.
I will underline 2 points which are extremely important to me. It is, on one hand, the need to give producers the capacity to organize themselves, to sell their products and to negotiate with intermediates, and on the other hand, the need for a clarification of competition law to make sure the legislation is identically applied in all of our 27 countries. What is most important is that the internal market works, including on the agricultural field.
The financing of the CAP and the direct payments to farmers require an improved control system and less bureaucracy in order to avoid penalization of the producers. To this end, the committee has adopted a 3rd report drafted by EPP Group member Giovanni La Via, which deals with the matter.
Very often we see fines imposed on farmers simply because they do not understand well the contents and requirements that they are supposed to respect. For this reason, we thought of an early warning system that can alert farmers in the event that they are committing an offense, allowing them to correct their behavior. On the other hand, in view of simplification, we have provided the opportunity to make requests which are valid for 2 years in order to avoid that every year the farmer is burdened by bureaucracy.
Che ogni anno l'agricoltore sia appesantito da burocrazia crescente.
The last but not least piece of legislation refers to the support for rural development by the European Agricultural Fund for the sector. EPP Group spokesperson on the matter is Elizabeth Kenstiger, who was extremely happy with the outcome of the vote in the committee.
We are very much in favor of the greening which is proposed from Commission, but we also say that countries and farmers which already have done a lot for agricultural, environmental, climate measures should not be punished. The Rural Development Fund is for the whole rural areas, so a lot of communities and projects where the agricultural sector is linked are also very much supported by the Fund of Rural Development. So this is very important. Also, investments are paid from the Rural Development Fund. And we have to say it was very successful today, especially for the EPP Group. So we won all of our key amendments.
All major EPP Group amendments were adopted by the committee, and the following step is a debate and vote in this House in March. Keep up with the latest developments on the CAP reform and other EU issues by watching EPP TV and by visiting our website at eppgroup.eu.